If you love movies, you're in the right place, and this place is here at the Chronicle, the official film podcast for the people movies. Welcome back. Welcome to episode 58 of the podcast. My name is Paul. I'm your host. I'm also the co-editor of the People's Movies. Thank you very much for joining us. And a big hello to my co-host. That is Nick Bartlett. How are you, Nick?
Hi Paul. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
And for this episode, episode 58, we are going to do a double horror. So there's one film, this is getting recorded on the 17th of May, and one film that came out this weekend. That's Obsession, Curry Barker's film, and a film that just came out earlier in the month, that is Hokum. And for the first review of episode 58 of the Chronicle, Curry Barker's Obsession. And Curry Barker, what a name, Nick. If you're not interested in horror, his name will just make you curious to go, what's it all about? My name, Curry Barker, sorry. Do you know he's only 26-year-old, Nick?
I know he's very it's horrible, isn't it? He's so young.
Yeah, exactly. As someone with such talent and ideas, crazy ideas that's flown through his head. So let's find out what this is about. So this stars. Let me see. It's Michael Johnston. He plays Bear. We have Inde Navarrette, who plays Nikki. We've got Cooper Tomlinson, who I believe is Curry Barker's sort of sidekick when it comes to writing all his stuff. He plays Ian, and Megan Wallace plays Kelly. Obviously, they three are all Bear's friends. So Bear, we first meet him, open up his heart to someone, someone he loves, a girl called Nikki, who's played by Inde Navarrette, as I said. And he's opened up, it looks like he's in one of his diners, and then we turn round and it's his two friends, Bear and Kelly. So obviously what he's doing, we find out he's got a crush on Nikki. So obviously his friends are trying to help him out, what he can say when he finally gets a chance to sit down with her. All four of them actually work in a music store. If I remember right, Nick, is the music store actually owned by, is it either Nicky's dad or Kelly? No, no, Nicky's dad, Kelly's dad or something. One of the friends,
It's Sarah's dad, I
or
think.
Sarah,
It's yeah,
Sarah, beg your
it's
pardon.
it's Andy Richter, isn't it? And he's like he doesn't I don't think he gets to do that much. He's just sort of there.
Yeah, I forgot it was Andy Richter as well. We made, obviously, as I said, we meet him there and he's practicing out. So, come see a quiz night they all do. And we quickly learn that Bear, he's a very vulnerable, very shy guy. And he has feelings for Nikki. And obviously, he really does like it, but he just can't seem to tell her how much he thinks of her. And you see that sort of vulnerability and how mild-mannered he is at the beginning because we see his cat dies. And that sort of just, and it sort of shows that he's not one of these guys that are busting with male toxicity, where a lot of these horrors seem to do have. And yeah, it shows you also that the film's very grounded in reality as well. That what may be happening might be paranormal, but it's not really creature
Yeah.
connected. There's at one point he's on the phone just before they get to the quiz night. Nicky phones him just after he finds out his cat's died, and he's in a bit of emotional state, and he hears that Nikki loses her necklace. It's like a pearl diamond necklace, sort of one of these ones where you go to, like, if you believe in is it astrology, the sort of power
Yes.
of I forget what you call these shops again, and you believe in that sort of thing. So he decides to go to this shop. They don't really seem to have the necklace at Nicky lost. So he sees this thing called the One Wish Willow. And what they're saying is if you open up, you break it, wish for one thing, and hopefully it does happen. However, as we know in reality, what you wish for might not be what you always want. So obviously he after the sort of quiz, he's about to he was going to give it to Nikki, and he's about to hand it over to her as he's dropping her off. He decides to do it himself. He's really nervous. He was about to ask the question about, can we be a couple. And he breaks it, and suddenly this is when everything starts to go wrong here, or right as he hopes it's going to be. But I think at the beginning, Nick, he sort of sees it as a joke, and I think in desperation he decides to do it himself because he sees his chances
Yeah.
of asking Nick out, sort of getting away from him. And then when he does it, and how things suddenly just happen really, really quickly, sort of the novelty of the toy. He sort of questions the novelty of it. Is it coming true? Things start to happen really fast. And
Mm.
this is a wee bit like in real life relationships. Some things do happen really, really fast in relationships, and not just relationships. Say maybe you're looking for a dream job, or you've got something you want to come true, stardom, a holiday. When it suddenly happens, you get a bit overwhelmed. As everyone knows on the website and previous podcasts, I've been to Japan. I'm not rubbing in or anything like that. I've been to Tokyo. The first time I went there, I had all these
Yeah.
ideas. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to this, and this. I wished for years it was going to happen, and it obviously did happen. Maybe not through the circumstances that I wish it happened. And when I got there, I was overwhelmed. And there's a lot of things that I missed. But the set I was lucky to go the following year, and it was a completely different type of story. It was absolute. So obviously, this is sort of makes you sort of think the sort of the handling of the sort of pressure, the stress of it, and obviously because the sort of bear you can see he's starting to be a bit overwhelmed, with intimacy, and it's someone it's now loving him is going to be part of his life and sharing a bit of his life, and the little freedoms that he had as he was single are now sort of changing, for the better,
Mm.
for the
Yeah.
worse, that type of thing. There was an interview that I think it's in time.com. Folks, if you just type in, Curry Barker time interview, it was his idea of what he thought this was about. It's sort of what I was trying to fit there. He was sort of saying it's like an idea of his idea of the modern relationships. And I think he's really true how the sort of relationship are sort of speak to each one, and the internet has sort of destroyed that chance of, this is how I feel. What do you think?
Yeah.
And you've got these dating sites, even though, don't get me wrong, they do help people, their success and things do work out. It's a quick buck to get in. Step over, say there's 5 steps. This will take you to step 4. You know what I mean?
Mm.
That
Yeah.
that type of thing. I don't know what you think of that. Sort of.
Well, I think it's part the film sort of feels like part of that, but it also feels like this the sort of how damaging it is to sort of put people up on a pedestal. I
Yeah,
think the whole thing with I don't completely agree about the lack of sort of toxic masculinity in it. I think it's
yeah,
just a bit more subversive in it. I
yeah,
think Bear's like sort of the sort of the definitive sort of nice guy, in
mm,
inverted commas, and it's like I think he's got this sort of idealized version of Nikki in his head, and so but he doesn't actually have any sort of interest in like in knowing her. He just wants to he almost just wants to sort of have her, and he's sort of because he's so the actor's really
mm,
good at like making him likable, but the film I feel like the film does a really good job of like needling that thread of like making him likable enough so you don't like hate him, but also there's stuff going on where you feel like he's sort of complicit in all the horrible stuff that's going on.
yeah,
And then rather than, I think there's a sort of thing where they could have played it as he was like completely oblivious to the sort of more disturbing stuff that's going on. But I think they play it kind of he's sort of willfully ignorant, and like he just doesn't want to believe all this stuff, so he's sort of kind of in denial the whole way through, which is a sort of kind of it doesn't absolve him of guilt, but it makes it easier, less. You have a sort of a grain of sympathy for him by the end, whereas like yeah, it's a difficult balancing act, I think, but I think the film pulls it off really well.
there's at one point, obviously when it hits him, he's trying to figure out the best way to sort of how what things are going on, and it's early on. He learns something about Nicky. He thinks, ladies and gentlemen, before I go on, there might be an occasional time there might be a spoiler with this review, with the next review we're going to do as well. Sometimes it's no choice to sort of having to say certain things because sometimes the complexity of these films, you might have to spoil a little bit of it. But me and Nick will do our best to not spoil anything.
I'm trying.
Yeah, and this is quite a tricky. Even though it's a very simple story, it's still it's still little ifs and buts and whatever in this. So apologies if we're spoiling it. So as I said, there's something that Bear learns about Nikki. You know, I'm not going to say what it is, but as he try, as I said, it's grounded because there's things that happen in the real world that are the horrors here, you know. And he's trying to figure it out, and there's at one point, and it's could potentially back up what you just said there, where she's completely out of it, and there's at one point, and Bear could have took advantage of her. I'm not saying he didn't, he did, you know, during the film, you know, and he sort of early days he sort of steps back and he says, "No, I'm not going to take advantage of her." But it sort of left me when things, excuse my language, shit hits the fan it leaves you wondering who is actually obsessed here. Is it Bear or is it Nikki herself? Because it takes Bear a long time to realise that he's that far down a rabbit hole. He's sort of his obsession sort of starts to cloud his sort of judgment, you know. But and when his friends are constantly trying to tell him, you know, time after time. This does not look right here, you know.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It's almost like the sort of the love that he gets from her is identical to the love that the love that he is sort of he love is what he's got for her in the first place. It's like it is like an obsessive love that's not really based on actually knowing the person at
Yeah,
all. It's like because I think what I find really interesting as it goes on. Again, I don't think this is a big spoiler, but at the start when he makes the wish and she gets in his car, um, she says that her dad's got really ill,
yeah,
and like as over the course of the film, like he keeps coming, people keep saying like he keeps using this excuse, and like all their friends are like, but she hates her dad, and like it seems like everyone else knows her so much better than him,
yeah.
and like yeah, and it's I think it's I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and there is a sort of element of he is taking advantage of her, even if he's not. I mean, yeah, there's a really horrible moment where like he asks her like, "Is this what you want?" and she says, "Yeah," and then literally the next scene she's just got this like dead expression on her face, like, and it's yeah, it's her. It's kind of I really enjoyed the film. Actually, I don't know if "enjoyed" is the right word. I think it did a really it's a very clever film, and it does a lot with a very sort of simple premise.
It's with Bear. He's just loving everything that's happening, and but even when Nikki's very terrified, you know, she's transformed into this other person, you know, this horrible person. Even all these strange things are happening. But we all know, obviously, it's not her fault, you know. And some may ask, yeah, we know Nikki is a victim. Depending how you're looking at them, some may think that Bear is a victim as well here as well, but I'm sort of borderline, you know.
I don't think. I mean, again, sorry, I was gonna say a
No,
lot for
no,
this film, but
you
sort of spoilers. But like, I don't think it's her for most of the film.
yeah,
I think it's someone else because there's that horrible bit where like he thinks she's asleep and you just hear her voice going like, and it's like we have to be quiet because she might wake up, and it's like it's a really it's there's a sort of element of she's being possessed by something. You
yeah,
know, there's a sort of entity that's possessing her, and that's what we see. That's the sort of really damaged, the sort of damaging obsessive love that we're seeing is from that rather than from Nikki herself. Because there's like, and also there's a bit where I mean, there's a bit where he calls up the helpline, which is one of my favorite bits of the whole
yeah,
film.
me too.
And it's that's Curry Barker, the voice is the director, which I think is really cool. He calls up the helpline of the One Wish Willow to be like, how do I reverse the spell? And the guy on the other end goes, yeah, we don't really do that. But there's the bit where he's like, do you want to hear her? And all of a sudden you just hear this screaming, and that really I thought that was really disturbing. It's like she's trapped in there, but it's not her. I love that. It reminded me of like you know in Talk to Me. Remember in
Yes,
Talk the bit where you get to see what the I can't remember his name, but the guy who's had his face smashed up, you get to see what he's experiencing, and it's like this hellish vision of him like being like just like pulled by all these different demons and stuff. it reminded me of that, but without the visuals. You know, don't know if I get was that too much to give away? That
No, 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 because as soon as you mention that, but I've actually got it in my notes as well, because
oh,
obviously
cool.
I was thinking it's some sort of metaphorical sort of entity, maybe controlling it, and potentially the owners of the shop are all part of this as well, because they remind me of, when you go up, say you get a product or you're about to watch something, it could be something very disturbing. It says you must tick this box. By ticking that box, us, the creators, are not taking responsibility of what might happen,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sort of makes me sort of think they're like the tick box of this,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
It's not our fault, it's your fault what happens, because obviously at the beginning when he buys the product and it's a woman, there's another scene, folks, where it's a man in it. I don't think that really makes much difference if it was male or female, but I think it's sort of maybe potentially showing that regardless if it was a man coming into it and buying it for a woman or a woman buying it for a man, whatever the wish that you want, it's going to be the same outcome. You're maybe not going to like what you're going to get. There's another thing that we were mentioning about the voices. You could hear her. There's one bit in it you see quite a few times, especially at the beginning. I think after they have their one night of passion, she goes away and then she comes back and she's all nicely dressed up. But you see her just in a shadow or a silhouette when he
Yeah.
answers the door. I was sort of thinking, is that just a shadow of her old self, Because when she's talking to him in the shadow, she seems to be inverted commas normal there. And then when
Mm,
she comes out the shadow, it's that crazy manipulative side of her,
yeah. Maybe.
the true
I don't
self.
know.
And that sort of goes into the sort of possession side of things.
Yeah.
Remind her that she's
I
getting stripped down.
I
Uh,
really love the way Curry Barker uses the sort of frame as well. There's moments where like she'll just be in the background. You can just see it. There's a sort of so what's the actress's name? Inde Navarrette. She's really
yes.
good at like at the sort of having just stillness, like making it really creepy. There's moments where she's just in the background of the frame, just like standing there, and it's just really unnerving.
Yeah,
And the way she uses her voice as well, like the screaming, it must be at least partly the sound design, but also her, like her voice. It's like there's that bit in I think season 2 of Twin Peaks where Laura Palmer's like screaming and running towards the camera, and it just reminded me of that, like really yeah, really sort of horrible.
yeah, yeah, that a bit. But you mean in a bit in the restaurant when he's
There's a few moments where she screams and it's like it's horrific. But yeah, the bit in the restaurant where she's in the background of the screen where she's just standing there is really creepy.
yeah,
But there's also in the bedroom where it's like
yes.
you're not really sure what you're looking at first. Like you can't really see her, and then all of a sudden she just moves, and you're like, oh my God, there she is.
That remind me of, is it pareidolia? You hear stories of people waking up during the night and in the corner of their dark room they think there's a something it shouldn't be there. And the way the projector Nicky's voice when Bear calls out, it gives you that impression something sinister maybe in the corner, and then at one point the way she sort of moves. It's something very, 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 very creepy there as well. I liked, yeah, I liked that bit. There's lots of little things in this. It just takes you down opens some doors. You go, my God, Curry Barker does not hold back in this.
No,
You know,
I think that's why that's another reason I really liked it is that it's a premise that you've seen before in like. I mean, I know he's talked about the sort of monkey's paw, right?
yeah,
That sort of story from I think he used the Simpsons as an example. I think that's what he was inspired by. But also, like you can see it, it's like there's the Twilight Zone. There's an episode called The Chaser, which is pretty much the same premise as this. And there's the Buffy episode. I think it's called Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. And then I think there's a Rick and Morty episode that's the same. And it's like, they all go off in different ways. But I think the reason this one works so well is it just sort of follows the logic of it through to its natural end. Like obviously it's going to be great at the start, and then there's that brilliant montage at the start where you see how happy they are together, and she maintains the same sort of level of enthusiasm and happiness the whole way through. And you can just see Bear's face slowly getting more and more sort of tired and fed up with it, to the point where they're watching the film together. She's just looking at him, and he just literally physically turns her head to watch the
Yeah.
film. Yeah. And yeah, it's just I've not seen a version of the story that's so like rooted in horror, and it's like it's such a natural sort of progression for the story, you know?
Yeah, I think it was it one of the Treehouse of Horrors, I think he said it was inspired by.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
this, yeah, there's loads, folks, you'll see loads of influences. I'm going to mention a few at the end there as well. There's another bit where obviously that, as I said, this film does not hold back. This is a slow burn psychological horror thriller, but the gorehounds are going to like a lot of it as well because there's a lot of it in here as well. If you like to like the Evil Dead movies, the recent ones, the sort of gore to that, you're going to love some bits in this. And there's one
well, I
scene.
think. Oh, sorry, go on. Yeah,
Oh,
go on.
there was one scene in it where he's going away. I think he's going to work. I think she's having a day off, but she just wants to come in. I think it's the scene where she makes him a pat lunch,
Oh God, yeah.
and she just stands there, and he's away, and he comes back and opens the door. She's still standing there, and let's just say, folks, she's had to use some bodily functions. That's all. Say bathroom, and she's just still standing there, horrible things that have happened, It reminds me of there's a David Bowie song where he says, I've left something awful on the carpet, If you know what the song is, you know what I'm talking about, And it's sort of, also, I was more and more thinking about that song. Forgive me the name of the song. It's for one of his 1970s.
Breaking glass, I think.
Yeah, and he's talking about it's all sort of mental health, like you get problems, but I'm always here for you, I hate how you're acting, but I am still your friend, and it's a lot of that in the song, and I'm wondering, was Curry Barker inspired also by this song because there's a lot of things that is a psychological side that was very very disturbing and unsettling. There is a lot of disturbing scenes in here as well, folks. You will be treated to a lot of stuff here. You know,
Yeah, but I think for me at least, it was more the sort of sense of like it's so uncomfortable all the way through, and there's a real sense of like something horrible could happen at any minute, and like it's that tension, and it just ratchets up and up and up, and there's not that many moments of like release throughout the film. There's that one bit where there's no like I don't think there's any jump scares really, but there's that one I think there's one example of a jump scare which it's done really well, but is the reason it works is because as an audience you expect it the whole time because you're like I'm not going to say that what scene because when because I think do you know the bit I mean.
is it the one in the car?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But it's like that scene goes on and on for so long, and it's like it's not that it's boring. It's really I really enjoyed the scene because I really like both the characters and I think both the actors do a really good job. But the whole way through that scene, you're just waiting for something horrible to happen, and you're waiting and waiting, and he drags it out, and then it's just like the release is just like it's just amazing. But yeah, I thought that the pacing and the sort of the way it happens is all really good, and really effective.
yeah. It's sort of going back to you're talking about you hear the old Nicky. Also, in that scene you were mentioning, I think it was the bedroom, you actually get to hear the old Nikki because
Yeah.
she calls out to Bear to do something, But there's also other points of the film where she does it as well, and our friends hear it, but they don't seem to understand actually what's actually going on here, So, Nick, you get any final thoughts or sort of on the film? What sort of rating you might give it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I wrote the review of it for People's Movies. So if
Yeah,
you want to see more thoughts, you can look there. But yeah, I really enjoyed the film in a sort of really uncomfortable way. Um, I think it raises questions of like bodily autonomy and like agency. as well as sort of digging into that, just how sort of complicit the main character is, which I really enjoyed that. It's like it's not a clean cut, this is the hero, this is a villain sort of thing. But there's also really like a really nice like dry sense of humor throughout the whole thing as well. We sort of talked about the people who work at the shop, but I like the way that one of them is like is just completely distracted on a phone, and the other one's sort of clearly enjoying messing with Bear. And he goes, "Oh, we don't have any more of those." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, they're right here." So I really like that bit. And the bit where they're talking about him killing himself feels like connected to that scene in American Werewolf in London where they're in the cinema and all the
Yeah,
dead people are trying to get the main guy just helpfully suggesting ways the main guy can kill himself. So I thought that I really enjoyed all that, and also like I think it's a neat enough sort of concept that I can imagine them doing sequels, but taking the sequels in very different ways. You know,
yeah,
with the sort of One Wish Willow thing. It doesn't have to be a wish about someone falling in love with you. It could be about anything else. Which I think there's a lot of potential there. So I liked it. Oh, and yeah, I think the direct. I think Carrie Barker's lined up to direct new remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well.
that's correct. Yeah,
Which, on the basis of this, I think that's in pretty safe hands. I mean, I think. Oh, the other thing I'd say is that I think the four main characters are all really interesting. I think I really like Megan Lawless in it. I thought she was a really good. She gives a really good performance as their friend who works at the music shop. But also Cooper Tomlinson is like a really nice sort of subversion of the sort of best friend. Like he starts off, you think he's going to be the sex obsessed sort of stoner friend, but as it goes on, he's sort of one of the more responsible characters, and he's the one who actually calls out Bear for like taking advantage of Nikki over the course of the film. And I know I said it earlier, but I think Michael Johnston does a really good job as well. Because it's like on paper, I don't think Bear's a sympathetic character at all. Like he's so cowardly, and he's sort of completely he washes his hands of any sort of responsibility of his own throughout the whole film until the very end. So it's like, and the fact that you don't immediately hate him, I think it's all down to the acting. So I think yeah, so I really enjoyed it. I give it yeah, I think I'd give it 4 stars out of 5.
yeah,
A strong 4 stars.
yeah. I'm 4 stars as well. I liked how they give a twist of death do us part. As I said, it's a slow burner. It's a obsession reminds you of it. The genre doesn't have to be mythological creatures, monsters to sort of deliver the shocks. This is a psychological thriller as well. Inde Navarrette is superb as Nikki. She's very unhinged. She's funny, and I think she's definitely going to be a future Scream Queen final girl. You know,
Oh yeah, she's great. I mean, that's
yeah,
the other thing I'd say as well. Sorry. I think maybe the reason I wouldn't give it 5 is it is the film itself is very cruel and it's like towards its characters. And if the performances weren't as strong as they are, it might be a bit more easy to enjoy the horrible stuff that happens. But because the performances are so great and you really believe in each of the characters, that some of the deaths are really nasty, and you're like, you sort of just don't want it to happen. So there's a little bit of a sort of it's too good. The characterization is too good, I think.
yeah. As I said, psychological horror, and it reminds us that us humans can be the worst monsters in all these sort of mythical fantasy creatures. I mean, our desperation, our self-destruction, and obviously our obsession. Always create their own downfall. As you said earlier, the sound design is extraordinary in this, and it has to be. So if you enjoy things like the desires of the substance, the keepiness of the smile films, the sort of slow burn dread of it follows, I think you're going to love Obsession. I think it's a disturbing, chaotic ride, and it's weird and unsettling in many ways, but it's professionally good as well. And obviously, Curry Barker is one of the latest filmmakers that came for YouTube. We like the Philippa brothers, Chris Stuckman who made Shelby Oaks, David Sandberg, who went on, started with Lights Out. But he's also part of the sort of comedy comedians who become horror filmmakers like Jordan Peele and Zach Cregger, who've done it as well. So there you have it, folks. Both of us give Obsession 4 stars. And for the final review of the Chronicle, episode 58, we are going to review Hokum. So, Nick, would you like to tell us a little bit about the film
Yeah,
and if
sure.
you liked it?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I've not I've not loved a lot of what I've seen at the cinema this year. I mean, I feel like it's been like I don't think it's been a great year for cinema, but I think it's been a really strong year for horror. Because I think my favorite four films of the year so far are like Obsession, what we just talked about,
Yep.
Send Help, Exit 8, which I saw last week, which I really liked, and this one, Hokum, which I think might be my favorite film of the year so far.
Mhm.
Um, it's directed by Damian McCarthy, who also directed Odyssey and Caveat, which also brilliant. Recommend watching them if you can. It's got the same sort of feel of sort of supernatural forces combined with a much more human, sort of tangible kind of evil. And it's like, and the plot is very unpredictable, which works really well. Unlike the others, this is like an American. I think this is his first film that's got a sort of international star in it. So
Yeah.
this has got Adam Scott from Severance and Parks and Rec playing a writer called Ohm Bowman, who travels to Ireland to lay his parents' ashes because it's like I think he says at some point it's the last place they were happy.
Yeah.
Um, and he gets into a nearby hotel and with the ashes. He's a great character. He's horrible to everyone, which is
Yeah.
sort of refreshing because you sort of think of Adam Scott and you think of like this nice sort of friendly character, friendly guy. But he's rude and dismissive to pretty much everyone he bumps into. Yeah, whilst at the hotel, he's told about this local story about a witch who kidnaps children and leads them into the underworld, where they're eaten by this evil spirits. And yeah, so I'm not sure how much if I should go any further with the plot because it's what it's one of the things I love about I mean all of David McCarthy's films is that there's never I've gone into all his films expecting one thing and I've always come away it's never what I expected. It's always a nice little from where you think it's going, like pretty much all of them. And there's always lots of little half twists along the way and like plot developments, and it's just the structure of it is always very interesting. So I don't want to go into too much more of the plot, but it all links to the honeymoon suite of the
Yeah.
hotel, which is where they've supposedly trapped this witch, and a large portion of the second half of the film is set in that room, and it's just about the creepiest the creepiest segment of a film I've seen in a long time. I was on edge the whole time. It's just yeah, it's brilliant. I really really enjoyed it. I think what makes it work is the sort of character focus. Like Adam Scott's obviously the star, and he's really like he does a really good job of like initially being horrible to everyone. Like there's a bit where the really friendly manager's like, oh maybe I could bring in one of your books to sign. Not won't be doing that.
Yeah.
But I think the whole of the cast at the hotel are all really like nicely brought to life. Like there's the friendly waitress Fiona who sort of bonds with Adam Scott like when they first meet. There's this bellhop called Albie who's really nervy and like an aspiring writer and Adam Scott is just really dismissive of him immediately. There's the hotel manager Mal. There's a groundskeeper called Fergal who's very suspicious from the start, and there's a local eccentric guy called Jerry who lives in the woods, and he's probably the nicest character in the whole film.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like none of them feel. I mean, they are archetypes, but none of them feel like sort of stereotypical characters. They're all really fleshed out and feel like real people. And yeah, Jerry especially is a really good character, and he's played by David Wilmot, who I've seen in lots of other stuff. I think this might be his most substantial role that I've seen him in because he's in a lot
Hamnet.
of Martin. So go on.
He was in Hamnet. He was William Shakespeare's dad.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's more substantial. I've not seen Hamlet yet.
It was only a small part. Sorry. Stations 11's the last thing that I saw him in.
Okay.
The sci-fi series where he plays a big part in that.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
cool. Okay, fair enough. Then I think I mainly know him from like bit parts in like Martin McDonagh.
Yeah.
He was in the guard, or the guard isn't Martin McDonagh, is it? But he was in the guard and Calvary, and I think I've seen him in lots of bit parts, but I've not seen him in quite a substantial part like this. But he's one of the nicest characters in the film, which is really like Yeah. So yeah, so that's my introduction. I really enjoyed it.
Yep, I enjoyed it as well. Nick, are you aware what hokum actually means?
I mean, I've heard the words, and I know he Adam Scott says it in the film to sort of be dismissive of the ghost stories, but I don't know the like completely what it means.
Well, according to the world of Google and Google, basically they say it's an informal now referring to the nonsense, the insanity, the pretentious, exaggerated talk. In entertainment, it describes trite, there we go, and sentimental material or a crowd-pleasing cliche used to get an emotional response or a subgenre of blues music featuring humorous double entry. However, Hokum is actually a slang term for hocus pocus.
Oh,
And
right, okay.
yeah, which its origins originated back to I think it was the 1690s. It went into it, it was a religious thing, 17th century. It was seen as an anti-Catholic dig at the church. It's a phrase that was coined in the early 17th century by the Protestants to sort of mocking of the Catholic Mass. And the Latin phrase of hoc estum enim corpus, for this is my body, referring to the doctrine of I'm not even going to pronounce that. I need to go to confessions now. So that's basically it's basically like a sarcastic sort of saying, and some of the words that I mentioned sort of come into
Mm.
this film quite a lot. I like when you see scenes in films where somebody you know appears in it. There's he's like a big writer, folks, and he's gone through a bad phase. So I think this what do you call it? It's like he's sent like a what do you call him? The sort of Spanish
Oh, the
conquistadors.
Conquistadors, yeah. The
Yeah, I
yeah.
believe if I remember rightly, that's a sort of series of books that he's making. So he's at the end of a book, and it goes really quick. It's really really quick, as in the sort of ghost side of things, the sort of paranormal, the horror side, because I like how it was like showing the opposite. So he's sitting in a dark room in his house in America, pouring a rain. He's drinking away the alcohol, and he's writing his story, and you see this conquistador who has played, if anyone, the guy's been in a lot of stuff, films as well, but he might be
Us,
not Austin Amelio. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
The
I
Walking
know
Dead.
him. That yeah, The Walking Dead's the only thing I know him from as well. And the Hitman, the Richard Linklater film, he was in that as well, I think.
Yeah, and he does a lot of films with obviously lead actor in that film, and he does a lot of Richard Linklater films. The reason I say that because I just seen the drama there, and there's a scene in have you seen the drama?
No, not yet. See, this is why. I mean, I'm saying it's not been a good year for film, but there's a lot that I've not seen.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm the same. There's a scene where I'm just watching, and I think it was one of the characters is crossing the road in New York, and I'm certain there's Sandra Hüller, as in Project Hail Mary, is one of the people crossing the road. And I know Hollywood and movies in general do little things like that just to see if you notice. And if it is, sir, I've had a look to see if it was, but it doesn't say if it is or isn't. I like little scenes like that, and this is a wee bit like that, but this is a bit more of following the story of Om and what he is. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's Austin Amelio. I enjoyed it. I wouldn't call it favorite film of the year yet, but it's going to be in my top list.
yeah.
I liked how compared to Obsession, which is more into your psychological, this does have the psychological bit in it, but it leans more into the sort of the traditional horror, folk horror, the sort of
Yeah.
witches and sort of urban myths type thing. I liked that and how they built up this sort of psyche of this honeymoon suite
Mm.
and see the way every time Holmes spoke to some of the characters, they were all given their own version of the close calls that they had with this honeymoon
Yeah.
suite. Had that sort of, I think it was the guy, what do you call him? The director of the Banshees and the Sharon. Is it
Oh, that's
McDonough?
yeah.
Yeah, they've done it. That sort of dark humour, the way they're telling this story. to me, it was just said, it was typical Irish, and you don't know to laugh or you will be
Yeah.
scared,
There's a
Uh,
few there's a few moments where it is fun, like I think like a bit like Obsession. Like I mean, I think there's quite a few parallels to draw with Obsession. I think
yeah,
there is a very dark sense of humor running through it. Like, but I think this is much darker than Obsession in terms of the humor. I think yeah, it's very dry. But also the fact there's not a huge by the end of it, there's not like a huge body count or anything. It's not that
no,
kind of horror. And there's a real emphasis on on characterization and performances, which I really enjoyed.
yeah,
Going back to what you were saying about the first scene where he's sat in the room and he has that sort
uh,
of he sees that first creep, there's that first sort of scare.
yeah,
I wasn't sure about that because I was like, I normally I prefer like slow burns,
yeah,
but the way it fits into the sort of overall story made me really appreciate that. Like in hindsight, that opening scene, I was like, why? He's at home. Why are we? Why are we seeing ghosts at this point?
yeah,
But it all worked. I think it all works really well, and it's got a really nice. I really like David McCarthy. I think Oddity is one of my favorite horror films in the last few years. I think it's brilliant, and you should see it if you haven't seen it already. But I think this. I'm not sure if this is better yet, but it's definitely comparable. But he's got a really good sense of like sort of cinematic like shorthand and like sort of not holding the audience's hand. There's a great bit where right at the start where Adam Scott's like scattering his parents' ashes and he takes out his mum's ashes out of the urn and sort of really sort of gently scatters it around this tree like really lovingly, and then he gets his dad's ones out and just dumps it in one dumps it in one go, and then, and then he's done, and he just throws the canister down, and it's like that sums up his attitude to his parents like really quickly and immediately, And I think there's a lot of little touches like that where that really help the film go along. And also the fact that when he arrives at the hotel, there's a big sort of a big deal made out of the fact that they're preparing for their Halloween party in the next few days. I think in the week or so. And they're all and you think and there's a big we'll talk about the honeymoon suite and you think that's where it's all gonna that's what's gonna happen. You think everything's gonna happen in the next few days, and then something happens to sort of takes you completely by surprise and you go down a completely different route for the story. So and there's a lot of that in the film which I really enjoyed as well. Although I think technically as it's set in Ireland, I think they should be calling it Samhain, not Halloween.
yeah,
But maybe that's just a concession to like international audiences.
yeah. It's definitely the director's biggest movie to date, as in probably the budget it's had. What I liked about it is I think, folks, this is a film you maybe should go into with very little known about it because there's two scenes in it. One very early in the film, which a character that Nick's mentioned, Fiona, is involved. And I was not expecting that. I am not going to spoil that because that is a big spoiler because it leads on to the other scenes. How, maybe why and how Ohm is like how he is and how he's
Yeah.
becoming. Be also connecting into some of the things he was doing in that opening scene, i.e., drinking
Mm.
and his consumption of it. I'm going to, this is not a spoiler. When anytime a film talks about a certain thing, i.e., like in this film, the honeymoon suite,
Yeah.
you know he's going to get into it. He's going to get into it. So I'm not spoiling anything there. I'm not going to say what happens in there. But what I
I
like
think we
about,
can. I mean, I think we can say what. I mean, beyond a certain point, there's a lot of foreshadowing about witches. So I think it's
yeah,
fair. It's all right to say there's some sort of witch involved in it.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, of
think
course.
that's a huge spoiler because I wanted to talk about that. The way the way that the witch that sort of the witch in it is very is one of my favorite things about it. I think it's not like a sort of I don't think it's a sort of conventional horror villain. Like she
Yeah,
seems very gleeful. It's
yeah,
almost like Evil Dead in terms of like she's very happy to be tormenting and like killing people. Like just seems to really enjoy being a witch, which you don't see that often.
no,
Normally it's like quite mournful, quite sort of sinister figures, and she's terrifying. There's a bit involving a dumbwaiter, which really I was on the edge of my seat and like I couldn't watch. But like yeah, there's a whole I really enjoyed the sort of it felt very specific. The sort of this sort of depiction. It's not like there's not a standard. It's not a standard sort of witch sort of villain. There's the whole thing with the chalk, and the witch just seems more sort of curious about that than anything else. Like she's not put out. She's not. She's like, what are you doing that for?
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that, and it's also there's sorry, going back to what I was sort of saying about the writing. There's a really nice sort of like in the Shine interview. There's like this sort of character who's there who thinks going to come and save the day, and then doesn't. There's a really like I really enjoyed the way that Damian McCarthy sort of it really teases the audience and it gets almost unbearable where it's like they've come back and they've gone away again and they've come back and they've gone away again and it's like no.
Yeah.
It's really I really enjoy I just yeah I just love this film all the way through. They play all the characters you meet. There's a little crinkle to them that means they're not quite what they first appear. Like in one way or another, like pretty much across the board. There's more to every single character than initially meets the eye. Um, and yeah, I've got a couple of qualms, but I think if they're too spoilery to go into. But generally speaking, I think it's pretty much a perfect horror film for me.
It's like in there, there is a few revelations that happen. One we're definitely not going to mention, and I love how the sort of colours as soon as he gets into the room, the honeymoon suite, the colours suddenly change to sort of that sort of green, sort of sepia tone
Mm.
type.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
yeah, to that, and there's a lot more to this honeymoon suite.
yeah.
It goes further. I don't know if that place where it goes further, Nick, is maybe where it might be a little letdown. Yeah, there's
Do you
something.
think?
Well, yeah, there is something there. I'm not going to say, folks, but some people, I it didn't really do bad for me. The only really one gripe that I had was the people were in the cinema with me, and we actually complained to the cinema as well, and they did nothing. But I can understand why. It was an afternoon show, and there was one guy looking after 9 screens.
Right.
There was a couple sat next to me, not an older couple, not probably a younger couple, where every 2 minutes they had their mobile phone out. The guy took his shoes off, and
Oh my God.
everyone, it was maybe about dozen is in there. It's somebody thought somebody thought he had cheese nachos. No realised it was actually his feet. But the
Oh
thing,
no.
I think what it was happening was it was more annoying that when he was on his phone every 2 minutes, and then his girlfriend decided to go on the phone every 2 minutes as well. And as you know, in many cinema chains around the world, there's a just before the film starts, it comes up saying, "Please do not use your phone, disturb everyone else." He decides to stick his middle finger up at the screen, and his girlfriend thought it was hilarious. I like to sit at the edge, sort of the aisle seat. They were in the middle, and there was another couple at the other side. And myself and her, we just went out and sort of said, blah, 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 and told them. Waited, but no one came in to actually stop them. But other than that, it didn't really spoil the spoil of the movie as much. But I was at a point, should I come in and see this again, you know? But luckily, I've got enough info to go on with it. But no,
Yeah.
I really did enjoy it. There was a lot going in it. It took you in many directions. It was a very suffocating film as well, especially when you get into the honeymoon suite. It felt very suffocating. Things that are happening, and there's the sense of dread in there as well. Very intense. But as you
Yeah.
said, there's not a lot of body killing. It sort of lives on that sort of mythology of folk tales, you know that oh, if you do this, this creature or this witch is going to do this to you, you know, sort of putting the fear in people,
Yeah.
which a lot of these folk tales really are. They're just putting the fear in people not to do certain things, you know. I like that sense. David Walmart, yeah, he was fantastic with his mushroom juice, his
Yeah. Yeah.
mushroom
Yeah.
too,
Oh,
yeah,
it was so good.
that bit, and
But that's one of the qualms I have. That's one of the issues I had with the film was that the little bit at the end where involving the mushroom juice, which I thought it was a bit unnecessary. Again, I can't really talk about
yeah.
that.
And the bellboy, he's sort of brought a bit of humour to it, a bit of dark humour.
Yeah. So he was also he. Do you know he played a double role in the film? So he's the bellboy, but he's also when is having his visions, his little nightmares. He's the sort of the jackass that sort of pops up with the big boggly eyes and the ears and stuff.
Ah,
That's
ah,
the same guy who plays the bellboy. So he does sort of get his revenge on on him for
yeah,
like being horrible to him at the start, which I thought I quite like that.
yeah.
Um, what else was I get? There was something else. No, yeah, I just liked it.
So, do you want to sort of give your final thoughts on it and what sort of rating you would like to give it?
I mean, I would give this 5 stars. I think the aesthetic, the writing, the characters, everything just is this is completely up my street. The setting as well is is so beautiful. The location for
Yeah.
cinematography. I'm not entirely sure where the location is, but
In near
the
Cork, I
forest.
believe.
Yeah, I know. I know the director's from Cork, so maybe it's a West Cork. But like, yeah, the forest is amazing. The and the fact that the road sort of there's tunnels made out of rock formations and stuff. And I was just like, I need to know where this is because I need to visit because it looks
Yeah.
lovely. But it's also very creepy. This this is my kind of horror film, really. It's just got everything you want. The horror is really it's a proper like slow build as it goes on, but like the release is completely the payoff is completely worth it. Like everything that happens in that room is terrifying. And I liked the sort of not the ambiguity because I think it all really happens, but I think like what I enjoyed about it was the sort of the mix of like the supernatural and what's based in and the very sort of almost the mundane sort of evil that goes alongside it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like the very like very sort of human based side of it, which is very similar to Oddity, where like, you think there's something supernatural, then you go, oh, maybe, oh, it's not supernatural. Oh, it is. And it's this sort of push and pull between what's real and what's not real. And yeah, and I loved it. 5 stars.
Yeah, I'm about 4 stars for this one. I liked how sort of kept to the sort of classic codes of horror. There was a lot of that in it, but also throwing a little bit of sort of contemporary sort of horror tropes in there as well. There was sort of one reason why was in Ireland for apart from it was where his parents were happy. We can't really say because that's a big reveal and it sort of sets the tone for the rest of the film when you find out. I liked that, and it takes you in some unexpected places. I know some people were saying, but we never find out about this, and that. I think that's deliberate. That's
Oh yeah. No,
plays
and
on the mythology.
yeah, and I think that's one of the film's strengths, to be honest, is that it doesn't and again it's similar to his other films. I think the sort of supernatural, the stuff, the creepy stuff is it's not what the film that's not what the film's about. It's like it's sort of background and it's sort of a setting for the film. But the film itself is about the main character and what he's going through,
Yeah.
not so much about the mythology of whatever's in that room, you know?
Yeah, and it sort of leaves it to the point, is it real or is it just a figment of imagination of home as well? So that sort of sense of thing. The colours and the sort of build up, the set up for some of the scenes in it's fantastic because I think a lot of people moan it when things are very slow, but sometimes when it's a horror film, the slow is the best approach because you just don't know what's happening, and and wait a lot of the film. You said there's not a lot of there's not a big kill list, but there's not actually a lot of cast in this as well. A lot of the
Mm,
films just with one or two of the cast, or maybe three at one point, and that builds up because you're sort of feeling what this character's going through. So I'll give it 4 stars. Very refreshing, very suffocating, and great to see a modern film putting a classic twist, a slight modern twist on a classic trope. So you have it, folks. Hokum, we give it 5 and 4 stars. That's your wrap, folks. That was your episode 50 of the Chronicle. Thank you very much, Nick, for joining us. And the review, the films Obsession and Hokum are now in UK and Irish cinemas and also at cinemas around the world. Just check your local listings to find out where and when they are. So, Nick, thanks for joining us. You want to do a little plug on where people can find your reviews or writings online and anywhere else?
Yeah, sure. I mainly write for People's Movies and Film Hounds and Critical Popcorn, so you can find my reviews there. But also, I'm still on Twitter slash X under IMD Bartlett, and the same on Blue Sky. And yeah, I've got a couple of reviews coming out there and some features. So yeah, that's me.
Excellent, Nick. That idea you gave us to me and Scott, the other host. If you're horror fans, folks, especially Hammer Horror, watch out because Nick's got a good few reviews and ideas coming up. So watch out for that. So for ourselves at the Chronicle of People's Movies, we're at Facebook at the People's Movie, X and YouTube, X and Twitter at the People's Movie as well. Over at Instagram, where you'll probably find us quite a lot on. That's where we sort of thrive a bit at the People's Movies. And we're obviously at YouTube at the peoplesmovies.com. You will obviously find episodes of this podcast on there as well. You'll also find the Chronicle episodes of the Chronicle on many other the popular sites where you like to download your podcasts. Some of them are on, as I mentioned, YouTube. Podbean's the main one, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, to name a few. Sometimes we will continue the chat in the Chronicle Take 2, so stay tuned on social media and at People's Movies for info on the future episodes. You can also sign up for email newsletter at the People's Movies, which keep you posted in those future episodes and also what we're doing at the website. You can also support the Chronicle and the People's Movies with Buy Me a Coffee and at PayPal. You'll find the links over at the website. You can also share the podcast on social media with your friends and family. And if you're listening to us on one of the podcast websites, do give us a rating. We are a small podcast, and sharing and rating does help the podcast and you guys find this podcast as well. Also, we're on Patreon. We are wanting to build that up as well, but it's also a place where you can actually financially support us as well. Nick, thank you very much for joining us. And
Your
thank you very much.
pleasure.
You're welcome. And thank you very much to the listeners. Until the next time, enjoy the movies.